I'm turning every enemy in Silksong into a Pokemon. Up until now, we managed to create 35 new Pokemon, and today we will see 8 more. These being based on the Muck Roaches, Growl the Great, and finally the Skull Tyrant. First off, we have the Muck Roaches, one of the most annoying enemies in the game. But there's one enemy that's even more annoying, the Muck Maggot. As they stick to you and make it so they can't heal, the Muck Maggot is the early stage of the Muck Roach, so it's an obvious pick for its pre-evolution, and between them is the Slubbered Lug, so I ended up making it a mix of both of these. I also covered it in slime as a reference to the pickled Muck Maggot. Meet Mukpup, the Muck Maggot Pokemon, and a water and poison type. In the past, this Pokemon was only a water type. However, with time, the water got contaminated, and this Pokemon eventually mutated into a water and poison type. It's still, however, a super friendly Pokemon. Some may say that a little too much, as it will jump on you and constantly lick you with its poisonous saliva and won't let go no matter how much you try. For its ability, I gave it Sticky Hold. Think it's a fitting ability for a Pokemon covered in goo, and that sticks to you. But don't worry, as its ability will change with each stage, representing how it's constantly mutating from the contaminated water. Next, we have its middle stage. As I mentioned, it's based on a Muck Roach. These enemies resemble dogs in the way they act and attack, so I actually made the Pokemon a dog who is constantly dripping its saliva. At level 20, Mukpup will evolve into Rottweiler, the Muck Roach Pokemon. This Pokemon is often used as a guard dog. Its powerful jaw will lock in on anyone trying to enter its territory and it won't let go. Rottweiler often attacks in packs, but they will often separate themselves in order to bait bigger prey into getting closer, to then howl and call for help, taking down the enemy as a team. For its ability, this time I went with Guard Dog. It's a dog and it's used as a guard, so why not? For its stats, it has decent speed for middle stage and quite high attack, however this will change for its final stage, so let's go see it. I based it on the Bloat Roach. They're this massive muck roach that has inflated due to all the gases in its body, which also make it float. Even though they're the final stage of this enemy, it's actually the easiest to deal with as they just stay in place floating, although they do hurt as hell when they hit you. So yeah, its design is just a really big and fat dog that floats. It looks like a really good boy, but it probably smells really bad, so not the best pet. At level 40, Rottweiler will evolve into Myastiff, the Bloat Roach Pokemon. This Pokemon is filled with noxious gas that makes it float. It's constantly brewing inside of it, making it float even further, so it needs to burp the excess gas in order to not float away. Due to its low speed, Myastiff can't just hunt down other Pokemon. Instead, it waits for the perfect chance to spit all of its poisonous saliva on the enemy and poison it so that it can take its time to track it down and hunt it when it's weak and slow. And for this final stage's ability, I went with Levitate. It's floating, so yeah. Also, it gives it an immunity for a type that's weak to, so it should be quite helpful, especially considering its stats. Unlike its previous stage, this one is much slower, but really bulky with a high HP, as big fat Pokemon normally have good HP such as Wailord or Chansey. And now, instead of a physical attacker, it's a special attacker, as it's so slow and chunky, can't really reach its enemy, so it just spits its poisonous saliva. Next, we have a Pokemon based on Growl the Great, probably the most hated boss of the game. I turned it into a 3-stage line based on frogs, as Growl kinda looks like one, so its middle stage would be based on his Steelkin, and I wasn't too sure what to do with the first stage, but then I thought that if it's a frog, its first stage could be based on a tadpole that looks like the poison darts that the Steelkin shoot. Meet Toxipole, the poison dart Pokemon, and a poison type. This Pokemon's poison is very deadly, however, it's only effective if it enters the bloodstream, so it always wields a sharpened spike in its mouth to pierce its enemy and then pump its venom directly. However, it's not very fast, so it can't really do much on its own. For its abilities, I went with Poison Touch for obvious reasons, and Stakeout, as this Pokemon line attacks by stalking and attacking at the perfect moment. And for its hidden ability, I went with Merciless, another ability related to poison, as it is its main attacking method. Next, we have the middle stage based on the Silkong. I only based on this one and not the Silkong Trapper because they look very similar, so I see no need to make another one based on this one. Instead of just covering it in leaves, I also added a lily pad on its head, as it also hides inside the water, so I thought that would make it look really cool as well as go well with its frog theme. For the concept, I was inspired by a design I did in an older video where a frog would throw its tadpole like a bomb, so in this case it shoots it like a blow dart. At level 22, Toxipole will evolve into Froggunner, the Silkong Pokemon. This Pokemon hides motionless in dense forests or in swamps, waiting for the perfect angle to shoot down its enemy. It uses a hollow cane as a blowpipe, firing Toxipole with amazing accuracy. It's not very powerful, but Froggunner compensates with ruthless creativity, scattering deadly traps around its territory. So if you're hunting down this Pokemon, be careful as you might end up being the hunted one. I actually thought of a custom move for this Pokemon, which it needs to evolve, Toxic Gulp. It's a 2-turn move. In the first turn, it eats the opponent and steals its boosted stats if it has any, and in the second turn, it will spit it out and poison the target. This move would be especially good to stall the opponent if it's poisoned, as it would leave it inactive for 1 turn. And for its final evolution, of course we have Growl the Grey. I turned it into some kind of shaman frog, as it now has the psychic type just how Growl ate a snail shaman and obtained soul powers. I made the leaves that Growl has resemble like a beard for this Pokemon to make it look wise, and added some familiar skulls like the ones from Cubone or Duskull, as this Pokemon will steal from it for its rituals. When Froggunner uses Toxic Gulp on a psychic type, it will evolve into Corruptto, a poison and psychic type Pokemon. Corruptto has now absorbed the psychic powers of another Pokemon. With its powerful lungs, it will suck in anyone who dares approach it and absorb its powers. It obsessively hunts Pokemon with prominent skulls, believing that their remains amplify its psychic powers, making Pokemon such as Cubone constantly fear for their lives in this region. For its stats, it's mildly balanced, but has some decent bulk in order to survive a few hits. Its strength really comes from its signature move. Hi everyone, just a reminder that if you want to help support the channel, you can become a member. By doing so, you can get some awesome perks like getting some PNGs of the Pokemon we do in this channel. This month we have the Belbeast line, the Crawls, and the Fleas. So if you're interested, be sure to check the different membership plans. Right now, we have 4 members who I would like to thank: Redclaw87, Jonathan Cant Brown, and our 2 newest members, Walker Rhino War and Pokedex Fillers themselves. Anyway, back to the video. Next, we have the Skull Tyrant. There are a few enemies related to it: the Skull Cutler, the Skull Wing, and the Skull Brute. As I mentioned in other videos, I don't want it to have a previous stage be flying, just to lose that ability later. So that just leaves 2 of them. The Brute looks very similar to the Skull Tyrant, so I used the Cutler to have a little more variety between the 2 stages. So the Skull Cutler is a small bug that uses a skull that it finds as a helmet to protect itself. Does this remind you of another Pokemon? Yep, Cubone. So why not make a regional form for it? Meet Phumian Cubone, a ground and fighting type Pokemon. In this region, Cubone often gets its skull stolen by Corruptto. So, feeling defenseless, this Pokemon has no other choice but to use other skulls it finds in Farloom. It lives mostly in volcanic areas, as that's where most skulls are found in this region, so its fur has slowly gained a dark tint due to the smoke in the area. For its abilities, I went with Heatproof, as this variant lives by volcanic areas, so it eventually developed a resistance to fire, and also Rockhead, which the original Cubone already had. As for its hitting ability, I went with Guts, very common with fighting type Pokemon, although I'm not sure if it would be very useful with this Pokemon, as you might as well just give it a thick club which doubles its attack stat. But you could argue that you can still give it the thick club and have that ability to not suffer the damage drop from bone. So for the final design of the day, the Skull Tyrant. Instead of making a regional variant for Marowak, I decided to go with a regional evolution, so a completely new Pokemon. The Skull Tyrant has some pretty bulky arms, so I made it look quite strong. Its skull is shaped like a crown, so I tried to push that in this design. I never liked how Marowak's eyes were perfectly adjusted to the whole of the skull. I feel like it made the design more bland, so I made sure to fix that in this design. At level 28, Phumian Cubone will evolve into Tyranowak, the Skull Tyrant Pokemon. This regional Cubone has gained a completely different evolution. Instead of Marowak, it evolves into Tyranowak. Due to its skull being stolen in its younger days, it has become very resentful. So it leads other Cubone with an iron fist and makes them steal food from weaker Pokemon. When it becomes angry, it goes absolutely berserk, destroying everything in its path. For its stats, it's very similar to Marowak, but with slightly higher attack and lower defense, but not by much. And that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to leave a comment letting me know what you would like to see next. Anyway, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.